I watched my son hand his mother-in-law the keys to a brand new Mercedes. Then he turned to me and gave me a coupon book. "Happy Mother's Day, Mom," he said, kissing my cheek like nothing was wrong. I stood there in their marble foyer, holding that flimsy booklet, good for one free hug, redeemable for one home-cooked meal, while my son's mother-in-law, Patricia, dangled those Mercedes keys like a trophy. She smiled at me, that cold, thin smile that said I won. My son, Daniel, the boy I raised alone after his father walked out, the boy I worked 3 jobs for, the boy who slept in my bed when he had nightmares and promised me, "When I'm big, Mama, I'll take care of you." He was big now, a corporate lawyer, a man in a tailored suit with a wife who wore heels that cost more than my monthly rent. And I was standing there with a coupon book. "Oh, Mom, don't look so sad," his wife, Vanessa, said, laughing lightly. "We thought it would be meaningful. You always say the best gifts come from the heart." Patricia laughed too, a sharp, delighted sound. I looked at my son. His eyes slid away from mine. I smiled. I had to. I always smiled. "Thank you, sweetheart," I said quietly. "It's lovely." But inside, something cracked. I sat there quietly, letting it sink in. That night, alone in my small apartment, I opened the coupon book again. There were 10 coupons inside. 10 flimsy pieces of paper to replace 34 years of sacrifice. I thought about calling him. I thought about crying. Instead, I made tea and sat by the window. Because here's the thing they didn't know. I wasn't just Daniel's mother. I was also the silent partner in the law firm that employed him. My name is Margaret and Walker, and I was born poor. Not the kind of poor people romanticize in movies. The kind where you wear the same shoes until your toes poke through. The kind where dinner is rice and ketchup, because that's all there is. I got pregnant with Daniel when I was 23. His father, Robert, was charming and reckless and gone by the time Daniel turned 2. So it was just me. I worked as a night shift nurse, a weekend caterer, a house cleaner. I slept 4 hours a night and still made it to every parent-teacher conference, every soccer game, every school play. Daniel was my world. I put him through college. I took out loans. I sold my mother's jewelry. I ate less so he could eat more. And he graduated top of his class. He got into law school. He met Vanessa there, a polished, beautiful girl from a wealthy family. Patricia, her mother, owned a chain of boutique hotels. Vanessa's father was a judge. I was the cleaning lady's daughter. I saw the way they looked at me at the engagement party, like I was a smudge on their perfect picture. But Daniel loved me. I told myself that. He'd hold my hand and say, "Mom, you're my hero." I held on to that. I didn't notice when he started calling less, when he stopped visiting, when Vanessa began answering his phone. I told myself he was busy. I told myself he still cared. I sat there quietly, letting it sink in. But that Mother's Day, with that coupon book in my hand, I finally understood. I had become invisible. It started small. A missed birthday dinner. "Sorry, Mom. We had a work thing." Then Thanksgiving. "We're spending it with Patricia this year. You understand, right?" Then Christmas. Vanessa's parents have this tradition. I understood. I always understood. But when I showed up to Daniel's promotion party, uninvited, because I thought surely he'd want me there, I was seated at a corner table in the back, alone. Patricia sat at the head table with Vanessa and Daniel, laughing, toasting, glowing. I watched my son look right past me. When I tried to approach, Vanessa intercepted. "Oh, Margaret, you made it. We didn't think you'd come. There's food in the back." She steered me away like I was an embarrassment. I sat there quietly, letting it sink in. A week later, I overheard something I wasn't supposed to. I'd stopped by their house to drop off a casserole, old habit, and the door was cracked open. I heard Vanessa's voice, sharp and cold. "She needs to stop showing up unannounced, Daniel. It's embarrassing." "I know," he said. "I'll talk to her. Your mother is sweet, but she doesn't fit into our lives. My mother thinks." "I know what your mother thinks." "Then do something about it." I stood there, frozen, holding that casserole like a fool. Then I turned around and left. I didn't cry. Not yet. 2 months later, they invited me to dinner. I thought maybe they were trying to make amends. I dressed carefully. I brought flowers. When I arrived, Patricia was already there. So was Vanessa's father, the judge, and a man I didn't recognize, a lawyer, it turned out. "Mom, sit down," Daniel said, smiling. "We have something important to discuss." They slid papers across the table. "What is this?" I asked. "It's a financial release form," the lawyer said smoothly. "Just a formality." I scanned the document. It was dense, full of legal jargon, but I caught phrases like relinquish all claims and waive future financial interests. "Why do I need to sign this?" "It's just to protect the family assets," Vanessa said sweetly. "You understand." I looked at my son. He wouldn't meet my eyes. I sat there quietly, letting it sink in. then. Sign it, Margaret, Patricia said, her voice sharp. Stop asking questions. You wouldn't understand the legal details anyway. Just trust us, Mom, Daniel said. But I didn't, because 3 years ago, when Daniel's firm was struggling, I'd been approached by one of the senior partners, a man named Howard Kincaid. He needed a silent investor to keep the firm afloat. I had money, not a lot, but enough. Money I'd saved, scraped together, inherited from an aunt I barely knew. I gave it to him. I became a silent partner, 20% ownership, and Daniel never knew. I looked at that contract again. If I signed, I'd lose everything. I picked up the pen, and then I set it down. I need to think about it, I said. Patricia's smile vanished, but I had no idea what I was about to hear next. I left that dinner table with the unsigned papers in my purse and my heart in my throat. They didn't try to stop me. Vanessa just sighed like I was being difficult. Patricia muttered something under her breath. Daniel said nothing. I drove home in silence. But the next morning, my phone rang. Mrs. Walker? This is Howard Kincaid. Howard, the senior partner, the man who'd made me a silent investor. I heard about last night, he said carefully. Margaret, do not sign those papers. What do you mean? That contract would force you to relinquish your partnership stake. They're trying to push you out so they can redistribute your shares. Vanessa's father has been circling the firm for months, trying to buy in. If you sign, you lose everything. And Daniel gets nothing. My blood ran cold. Does Daniel know? I whispered. I don't think so. I think Vanessa and her parents are orchestrating this. But Margaret, you need to protect yourself. I sat there quietly, letting it sink in. What do I do? Come to my office. We'll talk strategy. I met Howard that afternoon. He was in his 70s, silver-haired, dignified. He'd always been kind to me. They're underestimating you, he said. They think you're just a sweet old lady who'll do what she's told. I am a sweet old lady, I said. He smiled. You're also a businesswoman, and it's time you reminded them. He handed me a folder. Inside were financial records, emails, meeting notes, proof that Patricia and the judge had been scheming to take over the firm. We'll need to call a board meeting, Howard said, and you'll need to be there. They'll be furious. Good. I looked at him. Why are you helping me? He paused. Because 30 years ago, my mother was pushed aside by my father's new wife. I watched her become invisible. I won't watch it happen to you. I felt tears prick my eyes, but I didn't cry. I had work to do. For 2 weeks, I stayed quiet. I didn't answer Daniel's calls. I didn't show up to family events. Vanessa sent a text. Are you okay? You're acting strange. I didn't respond. Instead, I worked with Howard. We reviewed every document. We built a case. We prepared. And then we scheduled the board meeting. Daniel didn't know I'd be there. He thought it was just a routine quarterly review. But when I walked into that conference room, his face went white. Mom, what are you? I'm here as a partner, I said calmly. Vanessa was there too. So was her father, Patricia. They all stared. Howard stood. Gentlemen, Mrs. Walker holds a 20% stake in this firm. She has every right to be here. The judge's face darkened. This is absurd. This is business, Howard said. I sat down. I sat there quietly, letting it sink in. The meeting began. And when the judge tried to introduce his motion to restructure ownership, I raised my hand. I object. Silence. On what grounds? Patricia snapped. On the grounds that this restructuring is designed to defraud a current partner, me, of my legal stake. I slid the folder across the table. These are emails between you, your daughter, and your son-in-law discussing how to remove the liability. That's me, by the way, so you can take control. Daniel's face went pale. Vanessa stood. This is fraud, Howard said calmly, and attempted theft. The room exploded, but I had no idea what I was about to say next. The board voted unanimously. The judge's proposal was rejected. Patricia and Vanessa were escorted out, and Daniel sat there, staring at me like I was a stranger. When the room cleared, it was just the two of us. Mom, he whispered. I didn't know. I swear I didn't. You didn't ask, I said quietly. He flinched. You let them treat me like I was nothing. You watched them humiliate me, dismiss me, try to steal from me, and you said nothing. I thought I was protecting you. From what? From being treated with respect. His eyes filled with tears. I sat there quietly, letting it sink in. You gave me a coupon book for Mother's Day, I said. Do you remember? He nodded, ashamed. You know what I gave you? My entire life. I stood. I'm not signing anything. I'm keeping my partnership. And if Vanessa or her family try anything like this again, I'll take them to court. Mom, please. I love you, Daniel. I always will. But I'm done being invisible. I walked out. Word spread fast. The legal community is small. By the end of the week, everyone knew. Patricia's hotels took a hit. Turns out investors don't like associating with fraud. Vanessa's social circle turned cold. And Daniel lost his promotion. Howard called me. The board thinks it's best if he takes a step back. Conflict of interest. I felt a pang of guilt, but I didn't intervene. A month later, Daniel showed up at my apartment. He looked thin, tired. I left her, he said quietly. I blinked. What? Vanessa. I filed for divorce. I sat there quietly, letting it sink in. She was furious, he continued. She said I was throwing away my future. But Mom, I threw away my past. I threw away you. He started to cry. I'm so sorry. I didn't speak.
Not yet.
I didn't forgive him right away. Forgiveness isn't a switch you flip, but I let him visit. Once a week, we'd have tea. We'd talk. He told me everything. How Vanessa had manipulated him. How he'd been so desperate to fit into her world that he'd abandoned his own. I thought I needed to be someone else, he said. Someone better. You were already enough, I said. He cried again. Slowly, carefully, we rebuilt. It wasn't perfect. There were arguments. There were silences. But it was real. And one day, he showed up with a gift. A real one. A photo album he'd made. Pictures of us through the years. A note on the first page. To the woman who taught me everything. I'm sorry I forgot. I held that album and finally let myself cry. Today, I'm still a partner at the firm. I show up to meetings. I make decisions. I'm respected. Howard retired last year and left me his shares. I'm now the second largest stakeholder. Daniel works there too. He's humble now.
Kinder.
We have lunch every Thursday. I also started something new, a scholarship fund for single mothers pursuing education, because I remember what it's like to be invisible, and I'm making sure no one else has to feel that way. I've taken up painting too. Watercolors mostly. Terrible ones, but they make me happy. I travel. I garden. I laugh. I'm 72 years old, and I'm finally free. So if you're watching this, wherever you are, tell me, where are you watching from? Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Share your story in the comments. You're not alone. And if this story spoke to you, hit that like button.
Subscribe.
Walk with me through more stories of strength, survival, and second chances, because we all deserve to be seen.